Welcome back. We are here in the joint logistics session of the Tradewinds Navy Presentation Day. And next up, our presentation is given by Tom Albert, who is with Measured Risk, Inc. Take it away, Tom.
Thank you very much, America. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here today, everyone. My name is Tom, as mentioned. My background is 23 years ago, I started in cybersecurity. And that journey has taken me through a real opportunity to learn and be around some brilliant leaders. My entire focus is certainly national security. And the way I started is I actually started out in cryptography in New York City pre 9/11. When 9/11 happened, it drove me to the edges, obviously, of what I thought we needed to do to protect our country. And through those years, I've been blessed to work with individuals. It was maybe quite a few years ago, 2010, I ran national security for Cisco Systems. And then I was asked to do some interesting things by John Chambers to do a creative portfolio fit sourcing of the most advanced technologies in the world, specifically ones that detect nation state hacking on the wire in flight. And so that's kind of my background. And I ended up building Measured Risk after working kind of through one of those exits. By way of background, my father served, my uncle was a colonel. I'm fortunate enough to have good relationships across different agencies, and I'm very excited about the opportunity to be here today with you. So what I'd like to do, I think, is probably some of the best ways to show this presentation is I'm going to share my entire screen, and we will take it from there. Okay. Browser not permitted to click. We gotta how to provide screen share permission on AirMeet event. Click in the Apple logo, system preferences. Okay, hang on a second, security and privacy. Okay, let me go down. Sorry about this. Let me go down here. So here we are, and privacy, and specifically screen recording. And that would be accurate. So we do have the ability to do this. And let me just double check something else quickly. Google Chrome, that is agreed. Reset, lock the laptop. We can't do that. Let's see if that changed anything. So I have to click accept here, and having difficult to share the screen, the entire screen. Browser not able to share. System preferences have already been there. This is going to be challenging if I can't share my screen. Select privacy tab for screen recording. Select AirMeet supported web browser in, hang on a second. The good news is that it's a very short presentation. Select AirMeet, so privacy, systems preferences, privacy, and we are in the privacy area. Scroll down to screen recording, and we can click on the lock, and let's see if we can go ahead and add, select AirMeet supported web browsers. So we are in Chrome. This is a little difficult, frustrating. Change your connection. Note this is a one-time activity. It needs to be performed once only if you're not able to screen share. So I guess maybe the best way to do this, let me see if I can. This is not a PDF though. This is problematic. Very sorry. Let's try this. Let's see if I can share just the. How to provide permissions, system preferences, select privacy tab. Okay, well, I think that this is going to be a problem because I've already gone through the process here and it's still not allowing me to share the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'll speak through it. So what Measured Risk is designed to do was, it was quite a few years ago that I was extremely interested in data fusion, specifically around the ability to look at and triangulate different types of risk archetypes and profiling from very far away. So to do profiling at a global level ultimately requires a global pool of data and a data lake. And so in the course of building Measured Risk, ultimately, when it was interesting, when we started, I have some friends at certain agencies and they asked me, Tom, are you building another Palantir? And I said, well, no, that's not actually what I'm doing. But what we can do is, what I really want to get to do is prediction. Because in order to predict, you have to be able to detect. And so our detection skill sets are based in certain models. And let me tell you a little bit about what these models are, and then I can walk through specifically the communication on the presentation for today. So number one, one of the areas there was recently a national defense article that was visible that was Surface Navy building digital infrastructure to harness AI. And many parts of that article are very, very interesting. And so to give you a sense of what the solution we currently have today is, we have the ability to be able to look at the survivability and dependency risk of any supplier in the world automatically. We use supercompute environments to achieve this, and we're looking at a myriad of different types of models to achieve this. We're using different types of models. So for instance, in the survival analysis area, we use something called Kaplan-Meier, where we're actually applying different types of natural language processing or natural language understanding to an entity over a time horizon. So we can see whether an entity is going to, let's say, exist, and this is fully predictive, whether an entity is going to exist for 7.2 years or for 15 years. And this is extremely important when you think of dependency risk specifically. So that is one of the areas that we have available to offer to your organization. The components inside of how we deliver that is via API, obviously. We do have some level of data visualization as it relates to how we reflect this data. But you can think of it from the perspective that you can basically take the data and stack rank the vulnerability of survivability of any supply chain in the world. So that's just one model. And then we have another model where we used cyber skills, and we basically created the algorithm to determine cyber telemetry, cyber hygiene risk. So in other words, if you're familiar with CMMC, you could effectively take our platform and apply it to any of your suppliers across the world in that domain as well. And so this type of data, what we're looking really to do is to do multimodal fusion across different algorithms or models that then provide a composite kind of awareness and situational understanding as to what specifically that organization is facing in terms of the dependency risk that already resides in the multiple tiers within their supply chain. And so the types of approaches we use game theory in natural language processing. If you get a chance, check out the Kaplan-Meier estimate equation. And really the purpose of the technology and the platform of Measured Risk is to protect our country. That's definitively the primary use case of purpose. And so it's an opportunity to really collaborate and put our heads together and solve some of these problems with existing capability that we already have. General Robert Spalding is involved with Measured Risk. General Spalding was the chief architect of the National Security Strategy on the National Security Council. What he said about Measured Risk is that what Measured Risk has built is critical to national security. And that's Brigadier General Spalding. And then in terms of the types of, I guess you could say, the types of considerations around the way your strategy is with respect to AI development within the Navy. I'll just read a couple quick quotes. The one is, the goal is to create a data advantage, a task for the entire Defense Department, signaled by Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks in May. The data in Jupiter could be used in applications ranging from administrative tasks to warfighting capabilities such as Project Overmatch, which is the Sea Services contribution to the Pentagon's joint all-domain command and control effort. Having accessible and thorough information will be crucial for machine learning and AI to link sensors and shooters on the battlefield. Now, I'm not in the business today of sensor fusion to that degree, but certainly I started out my early work, some of my early work in IoT around 2009. So I do understand sensors, and I understand the aggregation potential across a myriad of different sensor type of data. It sounds to me like your organization has built a platform that facilitates a strategic advantage. And when I say a strategic advantage, what I mean ultimately is that if you have the ability to rapidly use algorithms and models to determine risk at scale, well, then that gives a strategic advantage from a defense and logistics perspective with clarity. And the other aspects of what we had built, through the course of these years, is the ability then to dynamically do lookup searching ultimately. So the ability to, at the same time, stack rank, let's say the large, very large supply chain across these risk dimensions. Well, then it goes even further, that I always felt like one of the important things about technology is that there's always the so what next? How do I make use of the data? How do I use it through my workflow to maximize efficiencies and create a strategy, basically a strategic advantage? And so we ended up building lookalike models that concurrently risk rate all the like, or source all the like type of companies out there to any one company. So you can look at all the companies, but you also can use the AI to source specifically an entire chain of, let's say, missional critical assets. And you're able to go all the way to the level of doing that from afar automatically. So there's work to be done on some of the fusion side of our models in terms of the way the speed, because it requires the heavy compute. But we have a confidence that not only can we actually do everything that kind of just described, that then the modeling and simulation potential is interesting too. So that you have the ability, for instance, and this is something I'm working on, you have the ability, for instance, to see your current state as an organization in terms of the risk in that supply chain. But then the best kind of scenario is to do to take the data that we have, and you can actually then optimize your entire supply chain, and you can do workflows. You could automate and kick off workflows and automation through things like ServiceNow integration and those types of things. And so that's really the focus of Measured Risk, is that we're extremely interested in looking at organizations from afar, using our models, and then to provide an advantage to specifically the Department of Defense and other critical agencies. My interests have actually extended far beyond that at certain points in time, where I've wanted to do fusion of 3 different types of models in AI. I've looked at basically the fusion, for instance, the convergence at a human level of micro-expression determination fused with, for instance, auditory or linguistic stressors and voices, things of that nature, tied specifically then to sentiment analysis using juxtaposition of particular pronoun usage, and how that applies. But the fusion across all of those different dimensions is certainly within the reach. That's actually for altogether a different use case. And that was really more looking at how to potentially create the opportunity to look for risk, human risk, for suicide ideation for operators, those types of things, which is obviously outside of the scope of what our primary mission as a company is. But that's the type of work that I'm very much interested in working with your organization on, is to put, some additional resources around the table and to really accelerate the possibilities with the data that we already have, and then get that in the hands of your organization so that you can gain a global advantage in many respects by using this data. So that's really the thrust of my entire presentation today. I think I covered the primary bases that I wanted to address. And I do apologize about the browser issue. I guess I would have to restart the browser and rejoin, which would then make it, how do I put it, would ruin the opportunity to communicate the value directly to you as I am now. And that's the presentation for today.
The difficulties as well. It is my understanding that speakers and audience can connect one-on-one after today's event, okay. And hopefully you can share your video then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll now be taking our break and meeting back up at 1:55 for our next presentation.
Very much appreciate it. Thank you. Have a great day.